Hi guys, and I'm doing a video of top 10 F1 races through 1996 to the present day. I'm going to do another video of before then, of top 10 races then, because there's so many to choose from, so I thought I'd break it down. And this is to commemorate the next Grand Prix this season, which is the 1000th race in Formula One since its formation in 1950. So yeah, it's 1000 races of high drama, tension, and everything you want as a Formula One fan. So let's get into it. In 10th place, I've gone for Spain 1996. Now, Schumacher started third in an inferior Ferrari. He moved to Ferrari from Benetton after being world champion with Benetton twice. Williams were all dominant that season, but it was raining, and we all know what Schumacher's like in the rain. He took the lead he passed the two Williams after starting third on the grid and pulled away and dominated the race. Hill spun out. This was because it was atrocious conditions. They weren't going fast enough on the straight. They were going half speed down a straight. But Schumacher, sorry, he dominated, and I think he lapped the whole field by the end of the Grand Prix. It was such a commanding victory and proved that no matter what car Schumacher's got underneath him, he can still win races, um, proving the champion he was at that time. So number 9, I'm going to go for Germany 2000. And this is Barrichello's first win for Ferrari and first win in Formula One. He started way back down the field. Schumacher was taken out at turn 1. And then, like Germany 2018 in Hockenheim, the rain played havoc halfway through the race. And it was mainly due also to, I think what helped him out as well is there was controversy surrounding a fan getting onto the track and running down the grass side of grass sideline of the track, which caused the safety car. This played pivotal because it meant Hakkinen had to box for I think it was still slicks at the time. So did but Coulthard had to carry on round, which meant Barrichello, after he's caught up, overtook Coulthard for third place. Then the rain came down and Barrichello proved that he could do it just as good as Michael Schumacher in the wet. He came through and got ahead of the two McLarens in the wet and quite deservedly won the Grand Prix. And it was an unbelievable drive by Barrichello. He just had the pace on the race day. He didn't have it in qualifying, but in race day trim, he had it on that day. And it meant so much to him because he probably didn't think he was going to win that, and he was really emotional on the podium, I remember. So yeah, that's a really good one in my books. Number 8, Italy 2018. It's Hamilton versus the Ferraris. The Ferraris were dominant and locked out the front row. They've been dominated since Germany. They were faster than Mercedes from pretty much Germany onwards, but they weren't maximising their opportunity because Hamilton was just coming out with drives of the century, and this was another one. He would not let the Ferraris get away. He got to the second chicane after Curva Grande alongside Vettel for lap 1. And because of the tightness of the corner, it meant they made contact, though he tried to give him room, and left Vettel with barge ball damage and at the back of the grid. So it meant Mercedes could play the strategy as well. They forced the Ferrari to having to do an earlier pit stop. Well, they, yeah, and Hamilton then stayed out longer. He stayed out longer for a fair few laps longer, then pitted, so he had the fresher tyres. But Raikkonen, to try and keep up with Hamilton, had to push his tyres like crazy, and it proved pivotal in the end because it ruined his tyres by the end of the Grand Prix. With the help of Bottas backing him up, running a really long strategy, it put Hamilton in prime position to overtake and take the lead, because in the end Raikkonen's tyres gave up. And but to have Hamilton in an inferior Mercedes, he proves once again he can do it in any car. He will race the wheels off it to get the best result. So he proved it in 2009, which was an inferior Mercedes McLaren. It was so inferior, and yet he still won Grand Prix. I think he's won in every season he's been in. He's won a Grand Prix at least once or twice in every season, which is an incredible achievement. Even Vettel's not even done it. So we'll move on to Spa 1998. First corner carnage. Came out turn one because they didn't do safety car starts back then. I think from then on they did introduce it because of the spray. They couldn't see Coulthard crashing into the wall, coming back across the circuit as it went down to Eau Rouge. The cars braking to stop hitting him, and the cars behind couldn't see the cars in front braking to avoid Coulthard. So they just collided into him, and it turned into an 11-car junkyard, the most expensive junkyard you'll see in your life, rolling down towards Eau Rouge. And literally teammates having to play rock, paper, scissors to whoever gets the spare car and gets to start the race again. But yeah, the second restart, Hakkinen was taken out by the Sauber after he span by the sort of slightest of contacts. I think it was a Schumacher. It was very, very, very small. You couldn't really judge anything for that. But Damon Hill got himself into the lead from turn one. But Schumacher, being the rainmaster he is, quickly saw to take back the lead. Take the lead from him, pulled away with about a 30-second gap. He came to lap Coulthard, who had already gone off earlier at lap 1 and was at the back of the grid with a damaged car. But unfortunately, Coulthard decided he's going to back himself off on the racing line, which as a back marker you should never do, because the leader deserves the racing line and he thinks he's going to get the racing line. So Schumacher, not being able to see him, didn't see him back off and went colliding into him, which obviously sparked outrage in the pit lane and a confrontation between Schumacher and Coulthard. And yeah, that in the end led to a first win for Jordan and a 1-2 for Jordan, and Eddie Jordan acting like an absolute maniac in the pit lane. So Damon Hill taking the victory with Ralf Schumacher second. And because Ralf Schumacher was allowed to overtake, by the way, I'll actually let you into this. I got this from a feature on the review DVD. Is that because Schumacher wasn't allowed to overtake because Eddie Jordan told him so, Michael Schumacher went in and said, "You ruined my brother's future. He'll never drive for you again." And Eddie Jordan just ripped up the contract, and that's why Ralf Schumacher went to Williams. So there you go. Number 6, I'll go for Germany 2018. Hamilton wins from 14th position, which is his furthest starting point to victory. Before that, it was anything lower than the top from 6th place, or 6th or 4th place, either one. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, he caught himself back up, getting himself through the field. He could start on the softer tyre because he didn't qualify in second qualifying. In first, he didn't qualify in. Was it second? Yeah, second qualifying. He didn't qualify, I believe. No, first qualifying. Because there was penalties on beforehand. First qualifying, he was out, but he got to start on a soft tyre. But it led to a Vettel mistake, because because he was be able to push and we knew the rain was coming, Hamilton could pit, get the ultra softs on, because they didn't think it was going to rain that much, which then gave him seconds of grid. When the rain came down, he had second after second after. He had about 3 seconds at one point on one driver on the front runners. So Vettel had to re-engage on his used softs, and it proved catastrophic because the Vettel mistake put him in the wall, forced a safety car, caused havoc in the pit lane. Bottas pitted. Raikkonen missed the pit exit, and he then decided to pit after catching up the safety car, which then left Hamilton in the lead, and then left Bottas second, and led to a Mercedes 1-2 from the jaws of defeat to victory, and an absolute unbelievable drive by Lewis Hamilton. Number 5, I'm going Bahrain 2014, and it's the duel in the desert between the two Mercedes. Rosberg and Hamilton were in the Mercedes that was all dominant because it was the beginning of turbo hybrid era, and Mercedes, for example, within 2 laps would be 6 seconds ahead, even though they're fighting each other, which is what happened during this Grand Prix. They had such an advantage, and we knew it was going to be between Hamilton and Rosberg for the title. And no matter what Rosberg did throughout the Grand Prix, he could not get past Lewis Hamilton. He even tried putting himself on the mediums for his first stops to then be on the softs for the second stop, while Hamilton did it the usual way of soft, medium. So no matter if, and still, though he had the softs and Hamilton had the mediums, Hamilton wouldn't let him past. And he didn't have that pace on that side of the garage, but he still won the Grand Prix. And it was an absolutely unbelievable race. Bearing in mind there were absolute battles going on in between. Force India getting their first podium in the new era with Sergio Perez. Great battles all along the field. Vettel in a season that was very difficult for him, getting outshone by his teammate. But number 4, going on about Vettel, we're going for number 4 is Brazil 2012. Sorry, it's the title decided between Vettel and Alonso. If Vettel didn't finish, Alonso had to finish third. Vettel had to at least finish 7th if Alonso finished second, and Vettel had to finish third if Alonso won the race, I believe. So the start of the race was poor from Vettel. It left him towards the midfield, and it cost him dear because when he got to turn 4, he was hit by Senna not once but twice. And we all thought at that point it was Alonso's to lose. Alonso then at the end of that lap getting back getting into third place, that position he needed. Vettel had to work his way back through the field, but we couldn't account for what was going to happen with the rain. The rain played absolute havoc. You had one point they were on slicks, they'd stop for slicks, and the next lap they had to stop again for ints. Vettel had to do that, and because the radio then stopped working on him, he couldn't tell the team he needed ints, so he took for ages to get the tyres out to get him on the inters. Tons of mistakes. It was the actual race with the most overtakes in a wet Grand Prix. Just outlines how treacherous and difficult that race was. I think it's worse when you've got conditions where you don't know whether it's wet or it's dry. You have Button staying out permanently until it was really time for ints later on in the race, while everyone else stopped for ints. So yeah, really mixed Grand Prix. In the end, Button won the Grand Prix, and Vettel, even he had 7th already. A lot of people say Schumacher gave him the position he needed. He had 7th already, and though Alonso was second, 7th was all he needed. Schumacher just gave him an extra 2 points just to make sure. Yeah, and another deserving title. I think both of them deserved the title, to be honest. As much as I don't like Alonso, he was absolutely tremendous in a very, very poor Ferrari car during that season. Number 3, I'm going for Canada 2011. Now, this stands for the longest recorded race to be shown. 6 hours, I believe, this took to get this solved. This is why now you have a 2-hour race within a 4-hour period in the rules, because this went on for ages because there was a downpour about 20 laps into the race. It was already wet anyway. For me, it was over, though Button won, and I'll explain that a bit later. There was a massive downpour, which forced everyone to stop for about an hour or two. The race then got underway again, took forever on the safety car to get it dry enough. Button was called to the back of the pits, was shoved down to the back of the grid twice with a penalty and I believe a puncture at one point as well. Alonso got his car beached, but though coming from the back of the grid, he came all the way to the last corner of to pretty much the last lap, right behind Vettel. Vettel, all I had to do was keep it on the road, and unfortunately the pressure from Button forced him into a mistake, and it gave Button the win on the last lap, which was incredible. I must say, no, I'm not a Button fan, but I do say this was overshadowed by what happened during the Grand Prix between Button and Hamilton. Now, Hamilton came out of the last chicane and came alongside Button. Now, I've seen the racing line of Canada. It does not stretch all the way to that barrier. It does leave at least enough of a width to a car's width of space. Now, even if it does not, Hamilton was alongside him, and Button knew he was there because he was doing this in his mirrors. So if he's doing this in his mirrors, he knows someone's there. So for me, Hamilton quite had legit, because he picked a side and then that's it. He can't go anywhere else because he's already going faster than him. So for me, it's partly on Buttons, and I'm surprised he didn't get a penalty, especially since Hamilton did the same thing in Monaco the last race and he got a penalty. But that's one of those things, and either way, it was still a great race. And number 2, I'm going to go for Brazil 2003. This was another wet, miserable Grand Prix, and it was all about the river at turn 2. I think it was down to the drainage of around there failed due to the amount of rain, which meant a little river, which meant right at the point they start putting the power down, and it caught so many drivers out. I believe it caught, I think Button got caught out, I think Schumacher got caught out, Michael Schumacher, sorry, Webber got caught out, Minardi got caught out. It would literally become the most expensive car park you'd ever see. Towards the end of the Grand Prix, Fisichella passed literally on the penultimate lap. Though it wasn't the actual end of the race, it was the penultimate lap from which the race was stopped, which was pivotal, overtaking at that point, because Webber had a massive accident towards the pit lane entry. Yellow flags were out and the safety car was about to be called. The safety car was called, and I don't know why Alonso was going at such a pace, but he just came around at such a pace, rather than everyone else was going before him was going slower, and caught one of the Webber's remaining tyres hanging in the middle of the road and went careering into the wall, which I think hurt his back and legs. He was literally sitting right on the wall in a state. It was a massive accident, and in the end, no one could tell who the winner was, and it weren't to the San Marino Grand Prix. It was confirmed that Jordan did win the race. but on the podium it showed that Jordan was second. But luckily it did finish the race there, and Jordan won it. And Jordan won it when it did, because Fisichella, when he pulled the car back into the pits, it caught fire with apparently engine overheating. So he was lucky he finished the race when it did. But so we get to number one. Now, after much looking through many races, the number one race for me was the title decider of Brazil 2008 between Hamilton and Massa. Now, Hamilton, after what happened the season before with engine trouble, gearbox setting troubles, which cost him the championship in Brazil, he fought back up to 7th, but it meant that he lost it by 1 point, which was a shame, because if he didn't have that problem, he would have won the championship by a mile. It didn't help with the fact that China, why McLaren kept him out that long to force his cars to delaminate, I don't know. Which then forced him into the gravel at the pit lane entry, which beached him. But this season he had to finish. He needed to finish 6th or better to win the title. Sixth, or I think it was 5th actually. No, sorry. But either way, it was well managed. The race, he dropped to 5th. He dropped to 5th because he started 4th, and it was enough. Though he had a bunch of cars that was trying to overtake him because they didn't want him winning the World Championship, aka Alonso. He had it in the bag, but the rain that came at the beginning of the race then started to come during the end of the race, and everyone had to stop for inns, but then his tyres were shot. He couldn't do anything. He was so much slower than Vettel, who, with a different strategy and proving how good that Toro Rosso was in damp conditions, was hounding Hamilton, and it left me literally nervous as hell with 3 laps to go. And then with 3 laps to go, at the last corner, the worst happened. The Kubica unlaps himself. Hamilton loses momentum because of this, and then Vettel takes the place. And then it's like despair. With 2 laps to go, it's utter despair, and you're praying that the rain rains. It rains, because we knew Timo Glock was ahead on dry tyres, and that was literally the only saving grace, because we knew Hamilton was not going to get past Sebastian Vettel with the tyres he had. And it was just agony. It was like the longest 2 laps of your life, though it was a very short lap. And it got to the last lap, and Massa won the Grand Prix, which gave him the extra win he needed to jump Hamilton, because they were level on points. The Ferrari garage were already celebrating, but what I forgot to see 30 seconds down the road was, coming up to the last corner, Hamilton manages to catch up with Timo Glock at the final corner, and I think it was, what's the commentary? Is that Glock? Is that Glock? It is. And Hamilton does him and gets past him to get back the place and win the championship. The last corner of the last lap of the last race of the last in the 2008 Formula One World Championship. Unbelievable finish. It's like the commentator said at the end of the Grand Prix. You'll never see any more dramatic conclusion to any motor race, and he's absolutely right. It was every emotion possible. We went from absolute agony to pure delight, joy, absolute bouncing off the ceiling. because Ferrari didn't get it this time. They didn't cheat him out of it this time. He got the championship he deserved. And it was so chaotic because you had Ferrari and McLaren celebrating at the same time because Ferrari thought they had it. They thought they won it, but they hadn't measured what Timo Glock was doing. So yeah, it's an unbelievable way to finish the season. But yeah, I'm going on forever now. This has been my top 10 reviews for top 10 F1 races since 1996 to 2018. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with what I've selected? Do you think of any other races that are better than those, or any races that I've missed out? Please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you love the content, then subscribe to my channel. And yeah, I will speak to you guys soon, and I will be doing a preview. I'll be doing a review, sorry, first of the Everton game, and then doing a preview of the Grand Prix, as well as Arsenal's next game next week. So take care, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.